Back in 2016, a massive fatberg had been discovered in East London sewers. I had never heard the term before, and as we're talking about it, we're like, what are these things? Oh my God. I went down this rabbit hole, just utterly fascinated about what these things were, what caused them, and that started a whole journey.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the E-commerce Pros podcast. We are talking today with Laura Lady. She previously worked in marketing at world-class brands such as Mattel, Fisher-Price, and Lego. Come on. She's now the founder of FryAway, which is an incredible product. It's like this cooking oil solidifier, so you don't have to worry about what do I do with all my cooking oil after I make dinner. It's amazing. I didn't even know this product existed. Go get yourself some. We had a great conversation previously, and we've got a great conversation today about things like product market fit, how to listen to your customers, and so much more. So Laura, thank you so much for being on the E-commerce Pros podcast, and tell us about yourself and your background.
Thanks, Rob, for having me. I'm really excited to be here. So in terms of my background, you said it. I spent about 20 years working in marketing and product development for some of the largest toy companies in the world on some of the most well-loved kids entertainment brands. And my journey started at Fisher-Price working on preschool licensed toys. And, I just knew on my very first day at work, I was sitting down with my team. I was working on Winnie the Pooh. Which, how amazing is that? Childhood love. And I'm sitting in a conference room where brainstorming about the next year's toy portfolio. And I started brainstorming along with the rest of my team. And as I'm speaking, I see this designer next to me just sketching out live everything that I was saying. And I thought, oh my God, how amazing is this? Truly ideas coming to life in the moment. And I knew that I had found my calling. I knew that I had arrived. And what followed was an incredible 20-year-long career working across different toy categories. So working from preschool toys to action figures to fashion dolls, and then finally at Lego. And not just working across categories, but working in places, countries around the world. So truly a global experience.
That's amazing. Let's talk about FryAway. By the way, featured on Shark Tank. Spoiler alert. Let's talk about when you had this idea. There's a story. There was this one night that kind of you had this idea for FryAway, and it kind of it's such a great story. Tell us that story.
So the idea for FryAway happened over a actually fairly long period of time. Back in 2016, I was living in Denmark, having a dinner party with friends, which is what we did on the weekends because we were living in a fairly rural part of the country. And it just happened that weekend, a massive fatberg had been discovered in East London sewers. And one of my friends brought this topic of conversation up at dinner, which is not the best dinner conversation. But I had never heard the term before. And as we're talking about it, we're like, what are these things? Oh my God, these they found, dentures and human teeth and hair and all these crazy things. And basically what a fatberg is what happens when all of the waste that we human beings throw down the toilet or in the sewers meets cooking oil. And it creates these massive blockages. And by massive, I'm talking a couple of London double-decker bus size masses.
Whoa.
That block the sewers. They harden to the extent that they turn into almost a concrete mass that has to be removed by hand. And so I went down this rabbit hole, just utterly fascinated about what these things were, what caused them. And that started a whole journey for me of how does this happen? How do we keep this from happening? And then fast forward a couple of years to COVID. Once again, dinner party with friends, and I feel weird saying that because it was COVID, but we did it. We had just fried up a batch of Japanese fried chicken, and we're in a farmhouse on septic. It's COVID. We don't know what to do with the oil. We don't know if the closest recycling facility is open. And so I'm sitting there with this pot full of oil and I'm thinking, okay, there's got to be a better way. And everything kind of came full circle from the fat bird conversation to I know I can't pour it down the drain to, well, what else am I supposed to do? And that was the aha moment of, there, there's got to be a better way to do this.
Yeah, it's like you were solving a problem for yourself in the moment and thinking, this is ridiculous. Why can't I find what to do with this oil? And yeah, it is kind of surprising that society hasn't come up with a better solution up until now. And I feel like that's why you do get so much attention and so much excitement around your product, which is so cool. So how did you start this company? Had you ever started a company before? How did you even know where to begin with this? Yeah, tell us what that was like.
I think I've been a lifelong wannabe entrepreneur, and I've started and stopped multiple things, constantly having ideas. I think my husband, by the time FryAway idea came along, he had heard so many ideas come from me, and it was always like, no, that's not your wheelhouse. No, like he was that guy who shot all my ideas down. And then when FryAway came along, and I'm like, okay, listen to this. I have an idea. He's like, okay, what? What is it this time? And I told him the idea. He's like, actually, I think that's really good.
Oh,
And so this was the first time that I think all of my competencies, my career, my experience, really just lent themselves to creating a product and launching it. So with all of the times past that I had started things, I would get mired in doing the research. I would research things to death. And then when it came time to actually execute, to do something about them, I would completely freak out and be like, no, I'm not ready for this. Like, I don't have the experience. I didn't have the competence. And I think that with FryAway, the timing was right, where I finally felt like, okay, you know what? I am ready for this. I've got everything that I need. I've got the toolbox to make this happen.
that's awesome. So that's good. So if your husband was on board, you've got like a winner with that. And so what was that process like of actually conceiving of the product, the branding, the name, and what was your first concept for the product?
So I think the first thing to understand is that my entire career was in marketing and product development, right? So I was in the business of just having ideas and bringing them to life. And so that's very much how FryAway came to be. In terms of coming up with a product name, I opened up an Excel spreadsheet. I started throwing words at paper and I shared them with my family, with my husband, and with a couple of friends. We're like, you know what? This is the one we like. Like this, it has a little bit of a double entendre. You're, frying away, meaning you can toss it away, and yet it's enabling you to just keep on frying, keep on doing the right thing. So every element of how I developed the brand had that type of a story behind it, and purpose behind it, to where it really felt very natural as I was moving along. When I started experimenting in my kitchen to come up with the product, I thought about what would work best for me, because I am an avid cook. It's not an accident that I started a food adjacent business. I'm a total foodie, and so FryAway has really been a beautiful marriage of all of my past experience, from a career standpoint, with my personal passion, which is food and cooking.
Hey everybody, I'm taking a quick break here to tell you about VideoFresh. So if you are an e-commerce seller that needs some video content made, that is what we do. So my team does amazing work creating these really beautiful looking product videos that are great for Amazon ads, for your product listing pages, for social media, anything you need. We make the process really, really easy. So if you're interested, visit videofresh.co and let me know if you listen to the podcast and what you think. All right, let's get back to the show. I know that part of your journey involved releasing the product, but before that, you felt a little bit hesitant to release the product, and you didn't feel like you were ready. Tell us about what your philosophy is now on releasing a product and when you're ready, or if there's a such thing as being ready.
You're never ready. You never feel ready, right? Especially when you've developed something, it's your baby, you never quite feel ready to release it into the world. And like I said before, I had gone down this path before of really feeling passionate about something, thinking it was going to be, an answer to some enormous cause and to change the world. And then researching it to death, doing, millions of PowerPoint decks, and then not actually executing. With FryAway, I went down a similar path. I did all of my due diligence. I did all of my research. The difference was that, again, I had the confidence to keep going. And there was a point, and I actually have a video recording of myself talking to myself, explaining to myself why I needed to just get over it and launch. That waiting for perfection was basically just fear of potentially failure, and that no matter how long I tinkered with it, I wasn't going to eliminate that risk. And in fact, going ahead and launching a product before it's perfect is actually what I would now encourage any entrepreneur to do, because it is a process of iteration. You don't want to launch a perfect product. Don't want to be so tied to it that you're unwilling to be flexible, that you're unwilling to change it, that you think that, no one's going to tell you that it can be better. No, the reality is that when you launch, there is going to be tons of people lining up to tell you why it's not a great product. And that's perfect, because it gives you an opportunity to improve and to continue to iterate and get something out there that will be successful.
That's so good. That is such good advice. So now FryAway is in multiple stores. It's on the shelves. Where is it right now? It's not. Where can people go buy this?
We're growing fast and furious. So aside from being online, the usual suspects, Amazon, Walmart Marketplace, we also sell direct to consumer on our website, FryAway.co. We've launched at Kroger grocery stores throughout the Midwest. We've launched at Meijer, Hy-Vee, Shield sporting goods stores. We're getting ready to launch Walmart, Publix. So we're rolling out fairly quickly. But while it seems like, unchained growth, we really are being very judicious about where we're rolling out, how we're rolling out, making sure that we're rolling out in the places where we're reaching our key demographic, our key consumers.
That's fantastic. And yeah, I feel like that success is no accident. You're listening to your customers, you're getting feedback, you're iterating. Talk about that process. How can brands get the right feedback from their customers? Where do they go? How do you go about that? And then how do you know when to change the product versus maybe educate the consumer or maybe pivot the market? Like, how do you navigate that customer feedback loop?
I would say Amazon is a really great proving ground and testing ground, because it's a it's a very low barrier to entry. Anyone can sell on Amazon. You just need to figure out the process to get set up and set up your products, and you're off to the races. And as long as you get on there with the first sale, people are going to tell you what they think. With Amazon too, I think there's a misconception that you don't necessarily have access to data on Amazon, that Amazon owns data, but there's still a ton of consumer data that you can access that will help you figure out where your consumers are shopping. So from the very beginning, I was looking at every single person that bought a product. Where were they? Where were they located geographically? Where are my products being sent to? What warehouses is Amazon sending my product to? And at what rate are they selling from those warehouses? And so that type of data helped inform um, where I wanted to roll out from a retail standpoint, knowing where my shoppers were.
That's awesome. And I know that you also, I believe you did this without initial funding. Is that right? So you truly bootstrapped this from the ground up.
Fully bootstrapped. I started FryAway with $15,000 of my own savings. And I, you know, I did that really by just doing a lot of the work myself. I think there is a misconception that as a startup, you have to go out and get funding, right? Like you have to go out and get investors. And I'm fortunate, that I did have savings. Not everybody has that, but there's a lot that you can do on your own if you're willing to roll up your sleeves and figure it out. And in fact, when I do talk to other entrepreneurs that are just getting started now, I do encourage them to really try to do stuff themselves, not just to save the money, but also to truly understand your business, to understand every element of your business. Because even as you do increase your cash flow, as you do have, get the ability to hire people on board, you want to be able to hire the right people with the right competencies based on what your business needs. And so I am a big proponent of just getting it done, figuring it out yourself, and just, learn by doing. Um, so yeah, that's, that with those $15,000, I was able to get a website built. So that already, was able to set me up to have my own sales channel and a place that could lend credibility to my brand and to my product. I was able to buy my own manufacturing equipment and set up a manufacturing space in my garage.
Oh my gosh.
I was able to develop my packaging and just a lot of the things that you need to get a product off the ground. But it really does help to be scrappy and make those dollars stretch in the beginning so that you can build a sustainable business longer term.
That's awesome. How did you even know about this technology, and how did you even know about that this product could exist? Or I guess it kind of did exist, but no one really knew about it, especially not in the States. So yeah, what was that process like of even like formulating the product?
So Japanese cooking oil solidifiers have existed for a very long time. It's not a new technology. And as I was trying to figure out what what identity my product would take on or what purpose my product would take on, I started honestly reading scientific journals. I started looking, and I'm not a scientist. Like we said, I'm a marketer, very much leaning towards the creative and strategic side of things. But what I do really well is understand things and connect the dots. And so I did. I started looking at chemical formulations. I started thinking about, okay, well, like in terms of solidification, what other processes exist in chemistry that would lend themselves to something like this? As part of my research and looking at different chemical processes, I looked to products that already existed in the marketplace that served a purpose, right? So margarine, for instance. Margarine is essentially a vegetable oil that's been solidified. So how does that process look like? That's an emulsification. A oil shortening is also a solidified oil. Lard is a solidified oil. So how does that happen? It's a process of hydrogenation. So I just kind of went through all of these processes, ultimately chemical processes, to understand, what would make a great product, and that was my approach to developing FryAway.
That's fantastic. So FryAway's exploding. You're getting all these new customers. It's awesome. You're in like every store there is. This is gonna be household standard before long here. Are you planning on? Do you have ideas for any new products? Any next products expanding the brand into other markets? Like what does the future hold? Do you think for FryAway?
I am working on some new product developments. Given the eyeballs on the brand, I'm not going to talk about what that looks like, but there's some exciting stuff in the pipeline that I think is actually going to be again game changing. So I'm really excited about that. And will just ultimately help expand the verticals that we're able to go after. So I'll leave it at that.
That is awesome. Yeah, Laura, thank you so much for being on the podcast and telling your story. I think it's just really inspiring to hear from someone who bootstrapped it all by themselves, and now you're just, you're just going to the moon. And I think it's going to be really inspiring for a lot of people listening that are also in the middle of scaling their brands. And I really like your philosophy on funding and on listening to your customers and pivoting. And tell people again where they can go buy FryAway.
FryAway is available on our website, fryaway.co. We actually have a store locator on our website, so you can also find the FryAway in the closest retail store, and then of course Amazon and a lot of the usual suspects. But coming to a store near you very soon.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Laura, and wishing you nothing but the best.
Thanks, Rob.